Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and we are still down here in these amazing, somewhat chilly, but still always illustrious studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. So let me give you guys a little heads up on what our topic is this week, who my guest is, and what we're going to dive into. So I think that it is probably a common thread at this point. If you follow along regularly, you've seen that Motivate with Coach Camp is about motivation. It's about inspiration. It's about sharing people's stories. We obviously have a variety of topics that we've hit on, but one of the common things that I love to go back to, and it's something that is a recurring, for me anyways, it is a rejuvenation of life in myself and then also belief in humanity, and that is the overcoming stories, those moments that people go through that maybe they didn't ask for or they didn't see coming, but they didn't allow that to be the moment that defined them, the way that they pick themselves up and keep going, or the way that they use that moment to be able to help others. Man, is that inspirational. Well, that is what my guest this week is going to be able to talk about at length, give us a little bit of his background, his history, and then how he wants to share that to help other people. His name is Mr. Ryan Dunn. He owns a company. He was a former police officer. He's been down some tough roads, and by God, he's up and he's moving forward and he's helping others. And I know you want to stick around for that. So don't make plans to go anywhere. Sit down, relax, get yourself comfortable. But I got to do that one thing. I've got to send this off to my sponsors, the people that I definitely appreciate because they are the ones that help keep this thing going. So stick around for just 1 second. All right, everybody, I want to take a quick second and thank all of my sponsors out there. Thank you guys so much for doing what you do for me. SRP Studios, the Rhythm Section Podcast, Hardwick Heating, Cooling, and Air Quality, Hodge Homes with Mr. Brad Hodge, Adair Honey Farms, Miss Hippie Eats, Phones Are Us, Tennessee First Responders Foundation, the Hope Center of Northwest Mississippi, and Stacy Dodd Intervention. Thank you guys. I couldn't do this without you. Please continue to support the podcast. Welcome back, folks. Here we are. We are with Mr. Ryan Dunn. Welcome to the SRP studio, sir.
Well, thank you for having me, Coach.
Thank you for coming down. Look, the weather's a little chilly outside, but that didn't stop you.
No,
and it sounds like a lot of your other things in life didn't stop you.
It didn't stop me.
So it kind of goes hand in hand.
That's right. I don't stay down.
So you are the owner of My Town Roofing, correct?
I'm not. I'm a senior project coordinator. I basically handle everything like sales, the project all the way through and out. We have a couple of owners and everything like that. It's just a wonderful company.
Okay, so we are going to get a little bit into the company and maybe what it is you do down the road. So I want to kind of wrap up with the story that came out recently on Channel 5 News, which I thought was really fascinating and a really good story, to be honest with you. But before that, we want to dive into who Ryan Dunn is and how you got to this point of working for a roofing company. We want to learn a little bit about the history you had on the Memphis Police Department, but let's start at the beginning. Where did Ryan grow up?
Well, it was the Carterville Police Department.
Sorry about that, Carterville Police Department.
You're all good. My father was with Memphis Police Department.
That's what I remember reading, yes.
I grew up in Memphis, son of a police officer, really close to the mall Memphis area, that area.
Yes.
Back when that was off and hopping. Born in 1977, basically grew up in the greatest time you could be a small child. You know, Star Wars, Dukes of Hazzard, Back to the Future.
Hey, let's be honest. The 1980s had the best music. They had the best movies. It was rock star decade, in my opinion.
No doubt. I was 8 years old in 1985 when the Goonies, all of it came out.
Yeah, I don't know how is it they had so many blockbuster movies all in a short span? Everything from like Back to the Future, like you said, Ghostbusters. You had Goonies. You had, it was just like this
Stand By Me, Karate Kid,
plethora of original ideas. Where did those writers go?
I don't know.
They're all just lazy now. They're like, you know what? Those are pretty good hits back in the day. Let's just redo the movie.
Remake them.
Yeah, and they're not nearly as good.
It never works.
So growing up then, what was life like? How many brothers, sisters you have?
I have two brothers. Well, at the time I had two brothers. I got one brother that's a couple years older than me. I have another brother that's about 10 years older than me, almost exactly 10 years older than me. Man, we grew up. WrestleMania 3 was and it still is the biggest sporting event of all time.
Hey, look, man, I was a wrestling fan, especially in Memphis. You had
Hogan slammed
Channel
Andre.
5 wrestling every Saturday morning. Look, I can name the whole list of them. And I had downtown Bruno Brown on the show, so that was
Mama
a thrill.
Says it bees that way sometimes.
Man, that's what he says.
That's right.
It was a great conversation.
Yeah.
So then, growing up, what was like an influence, or what did you think you might want to do? You said your dad was a police officer for a long time. Were you thinking even as a kid? maybe I'll grow up and be a cop.
There's nothing I ever wanted to do other than be a detective ever since I was a little boy. My father was that. He was in the East GIB in the Mount Moriah over there, Mount Moriah precinct, where all the basketball courts and everything were like that before the basketball courts. And then he ended up going downtown, working in auto theft and all that before he made 30-year captain, and then ended up over 3 to 11 felony response unit and all that. But I just, I have my 2 brothers. None of the 3 of us look anything alike.
Really?
I look like, I talk like, I walk like exactly like my father.
Okay.
And it was almost just like that was my destiny or something like that. But he is, and always will be the hero,
Yeah.
But he was just a wonderful person and did it, while following God's path the whole way. But that's all I ever wanted to be.
So a great example. Leading
No question
you
about
boys.
it.
What about your brothers? What were they doing? What were they wanting to do?
I don't know. They want to beat me up is what they want to do.
Well, that's what happens a lot of times.
Yeah, and they're both, I'm telling you, the one's 2 years older than me, Jeff's the hardest working dude you've ever met. Just an absolute beast. The dude just don't quit.
Yeah.
He ended up getting, cancer when he was a teenager and all that, was St. Jude patient. But my brother's the hardest worker there's ever lived.
Yeah.
The oldest one, Daryl, he's just full of energy. Everybody knows who he is. He's just a great guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he ended up in he went to the Navy and all that stuff. As far as what they wanted to be in life, I'm really not sure. But they just wanted to pick on me.
Yeah, well, so it all kind of goes hand in hand. So I always like to ask a little bit about the family dynamic because obviously coming from a childhood where I was the oldest son, I beat up on my brother. That's just the way it goes. It's just the way it works. But at the same time, nobody else could beat up on him. Somebody else beat up on him. I got his back then.
That's it.
It was only my role to beat him up. That's how it works. But I like to ask a little bit about family life because I know that starts to mold the character that you become. It's an indirect kind of situation. Whether or not you're paying attention as a kid, you don't recognize it maybe until you get older, the things that you notice or the things that you were exposed to and how that impacts your life. So you have a father that is a police officer. You recognize him as a great human being, making an impact in community and then working hard. You got your 2 older brothers, which are actually giving you mental and physical toughness along the way, whether or not you realize it.
No doubt.
You wouldn't ask for it, but at the end of the day, that's the end result of being a younger brother a lot of times. And so this part 2 of your story that you shared with me before we came on, just a little pre-conversation, you'd sent me some bio. I know that your mom passed away when you were 11 years old, you said.
Yes.
And so before you even got into those formative teenage years, you're facing some real hard life challenges. So talk a little bit about that.
Without question. We grew up in Memphis. I went to Memphis City Schools. I went to Sherwood Elementary School, which was a wonderful place. And then, everything was just going. We had, my mom's from Houston, Mississippi. And so we had big family reunions down there. Family was a major thing. She was kind of the glue that held everything together. And, you would think that my father was the fearless one of the 2, and he was. She was a whole nother ball game.
Sure.
Little corn-fed country girl, little bitty thing, but you did not rattle that cage. But she was just the most wonderful person, just held everything together. And then she got diagnosed with cancer. Went through a battle with that for, I was young at the time, so I don't really know the time frame, but I know that it was at least over a year, and it went south quickly. Like it was spread. But as far as her, her last week, she was, you'd have nurses coming in and she'd ask them, where are you going when you die? I know where I'm about to be.
So her faith was strong. Even in the midst of tragedy happening, never wavered.
Never.
And you know what? That is very important because I did a series recently. It was this past year in 2025 about cancer patients and different types of cancer, and then had some experts come in and talk. And the bottom line is this: it can strike anyone at any time, at any age. It's indiscriminate. It doesn't matter if you're rich. It doesn't matter if you're poor. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. And it leaves a mark, not just on that person, but then obviously on everyone around them. So your mom is going through this when you and ultimately succumbs when you're at the age of 11, which is a very tough year, tough age range. Kids are going into middle school. There's a lot of pressures that you never had been exposed to in elementary school. How did that play into your mindset and how you saw the future for yourself?
Man, that's a long story in itself. It was difficult to process.
Yeah.
Because I was, as much as I loved my father, I was kind of a mama's boy.
Yeah.
Like I was the one that would sit with her and do crafts and this and that. She needed to go to the store towards the end. She didn't even have strength to turn the wheel. I sat in her lap and drove to the grocery store.
Wow.
I turned the wheel while she pushed the gas pedal. But it devastated me, to be honest with you. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to quit. I didn't, as far as a wake or whatever, a visitation at a funeral, I didn't have anything to do with it. I sat out in the hall. Like, I just don't want to talk to anybody. I just don't want to do any of that. So then, luckily, I've been in church my entire life. Right? Cherry Road Baptist Church is where I grew up with. The friends I have now are the friends that I grew up with at church. I can't stress that enough. I tell that to my children now. And that was my support system. So
yeah,
that's a huge thing in getting through things like that, is having the right support system around you. My mother told my dad, because we were kind of unsupervised. My brother, is just barely older than me. My dad was a detective. He's investigating homicides and everything else at the Memphis Police Department. My mother's got cancer. We're children. And everybody was trying to do the best that they could. Nobody did anything wrong. So we just, we kind of went off the rails a little bit and got the reputation of all those Dunn boys are wild, which couldn't have been any further from the truth. We were just trying to cope with what we were dealing with. So my mother told my dad when she was passing away, this is how hardcore she was. She says, Joe, you have to get remarried, and you better do it soon. She said, you can't deal with this on your own. That's selfless.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's very, to see the bigger picture in the midst of your own personal tragedy.
No doubt.
And I'm sure that all of that stems from her deep-rooted faith. Now, look, I brought around the fact of how cancer is indiscriminate on whom it impacts, which is it could be anyone at any time, anywhere. But the fact that you have that faith to lean on, and that's kind of the thing, is when a person has something that is bigger than themselves they believe in, they realize there's a bigger purpose for the moment that they're going through. It's not the end all be all to the life here that we have on this earth. It is the impact that we leave behind as well. And so just the idea that she's mentioning this, that look, you're going to have to get remarried. The boys are going to need some structure. She understood that in her darkest hours, and yet here you are, 11-year-old, and I wanted to get your feel on it because I can't remember too many things I did when I was 11. It's hard, but life impact moments like that you don't usually forget, and it can be a turning point for the wrong, or it can be a turning point for the good.
That's right.
And I've seen it on both sides of that, especially being a firefighter paramedic in Memphis.
Right.
You become a part of the community where you work, so you witness things all the time. And you see people who lose family members when they're young, and some of them go the right direction, and they use that as inspiration to do better for themselves. Some of them use it as the crutch, if you will, to make bad choices down the road. So when you're 11 and you're a formative, young mind, and your mom's telling your dad, look, you're going to have to find someone else. How long is it before your dad remarries? And then what are those years in between look like for you?
There were no years in between. That's the wild part of this, is that she passed away the day before Mother's Day, which that's not great.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. So the day before Mother's Day, 1989, she passes away. All right. I almost just shut everybody and everything else out. I just didn't want to have to do anything. You're talking about you could do it for the good or do it for the bad, or how you react to it. I kind of reacted both ways. And I just wanted to be left alone. My father ended up getting remarried in around Thanksgiving of 1989, which I'm telling you right now, my mother would have been thrilled to death of that. She would have absolutely given her blessing for that. My stepmother, and the only reason I say stepmother is because I had enough time with my biological mother, That's
you had
the
a
only
relationship.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was a mama's boy.
Sure.
That's the only reason that we use the step term now, but that's it, just to distinguish between the two. That ain't my stepmother. That's been my mother for 36 years.
Yeah.
If I'm doing the math right, but 36 years. She was a godsend to us. And she was there through very difficult times. The teenage years, I can't imagine what life would have been like without her.
Yeah.
My brother ended up getting cancer a year after my mother passed away.
Wow.
So she was there for all that. And this is a wild story here. I was going through a bunch of boxes of old things, and then I found the book, the funeral book, where you sign in, where people come to a funeral and a visitation and stuff like that, where they sign in. And I looked, and the very last name of the book was my stepmother's name. So I went to her and asked her, I said, did you sign this after the fact? Like, I was there, I just forgot to sign it, so I'll just sign it now, just that I was there, which is all good. She said, no, I signed it the day I got there. She was the last name in the book on the day of the funeral of my mother, was the person that was going to be my mother for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's a wild.
That is wild. So I'm assuming then she knew you guys.
Oh yeah. We went to the same church. I recognized her, but I didn't really know her that well.
I got you.
And she had a daughter, and I knew Jane. I didn't know Jane that well, but she's about the same age as my oldest brother. So I got just the sweetest sister in the world through that. But through that, my stepmother's sister, so it's my aunt, who she taught at SBEC, which is North Point now.
Yeah.
And she was teaching out there, and then you lose your path when you're not supervised for a while, and it was nobody's fault. So we had fallen in with just, even some good people that just, people just get in trouble. Everybody we were hanging around with was getting in trouble.
Well, I think it's fair to say that teenagers are mischievous.
No question about it.
If you find a teenager that is not mischievous, those are what I refer to as the rarities.
Right.
Even the nicest, kindest, quietest kids get into stuff.
Right.
It's just part of curiosity to life. Now, there's a very big difference in being mischievous and then burning a house down and doing things like that, or, holding people up with a gun. So I'm not suggesting that would be normal behavior for a teenager, but going out too late, sneaking out, drinking at a party, those things are commonplace. That's common mischievousness.
100%.
So you're a little bit misguided is what I'm hearing. And then here comes your stepmom's sister into the picture at SBC.
Yes, she teaches there, so that's how the connect came to go to SBEC.
Gotcha.
So they tell me you've got to go out there and take a test to go to this school, and when I tell you that I about threw a screaming fit, I threw a screaming fit.
How old were you at that time?
Well, I turned 12 in July of 1989. So yeah, I was about 12 years old at the time. I was just like, you're going to take me out of my environment. Where I was very comfortable with my friends in Memphis schools. Like, everything was changing too fast.
I could see that.
For me. So I was just like, I don't, we didn't, money was not we did the best we could. We didn't have extra money around, know? Like, but now I got to go out here to a private school with all these kids that have never experienced anything that I've experienced, which that was a very naive way of thinking about that too, just putting them into that kind of box.
Well, you had limited life experience.
That's it, limited life experience. And I wasn't thrilled about it at all. But we did, and what that place gave us was structure that we desperately needed. And it was huge as far as that goes, to get to that point. So we get there, Jeff and I, we get there. And he's just a little bit older than me. And then he gets cancer, which for some reason everybody else knew about it before I did. I wasn't thrilled about that either. I think they were just trying to
shield you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'd been through a lot.
Sure. It's tough for an adult to process. You imagine a small child that's not even a teenager yet, trying to process he just lost his mom. Now my brother, that regardless of how many times he beats you up, I know how brotherhood works, is one of your best friends, whether or not you even recognize it at the time. And now here it is. He's going down the same road. It's probably how a 12-year-old processes this.
Yes. And I'll have to credit him later on in the story for making me really who I am. Like fearless to a point, and I have to credit my brothers for that. But we get there to SBEC. Then he gets diagnosed with cancer. This is all within like a year and a half's time is happening to me, and I'm still a small child. You know, I'm not cognizant of everything that's going on, and I never had an issue with schoolwork. Like I can walk in and I've never had a problem taking a test. Yeah. Ever. I just stopped. I wouldn't do my homework. I wouldn't do. My test, I didn't take it serious. I didn't care anymore. Yeah. I wanted to give up. You know, I was just done with it all. I just didn't see the importance of that when life and death was just all that I saw up to that point. So I failed the 8th grade at SBEC. Honestly, I think I was the youngest person in that class anyways. I probably started school too early, but if I had tried, I would have absolutely sailed right through, but I didn't. I was just done with it. So I failed English. I failed American history.
Yeah. What did your dad say at this time?
He's trying to do the best that he can. Yeah. Like he's still trying to process the loss of his
That's what spouse. I was curious of.
He's still trying to process that his son's got cancer, and he's still investigating murder cases. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around the amount that's on this dude's plate.
That's why I'm bringing him into the conversation because, you know, as much as this is Ryan Dunn's story of survival and thrival down the road, I think it encompasses a family's journey as well. What you're telling us is not something that is actually absolutely foreign to other people that are listening to this podcast. I have a friend who lost her mother and then in short session lost her daughter to cancer. And she is out there still happy, enjoying life, and trying to make the best of what she has. And as a parent, man, you gotta look. I'm talking about your dad for a second here because I mean this is a superhero moment as well, and I think I see where the strength comes from in yourself. Where you're right, here it is. He's just lost his wife. Now his son is being diagnosed, and your priorities change. You know, you failing 8th grade is not going to make my radar that hard at that point because I'm also trying to protect you and everyone else from the real life grievances that are taking place right now. How does your dad move forward? What do you remember about that, about your dad and how he was able to manage all this? And like you said, deal with the worst of the worst in Memphis, because if you live in the area, no shocker, Memphis kind of a tough town. I know. I retired from there. It's a tough town. So what do you remember about how your dad's approach was at the house?
Honestly, it's almost just like my story is where I've been groomed my whole life to be prepared for what's next. So is he. You know, he had gotten to that point to where he had been through so much by the time he got to there. My dad's not a yeller or a screamer or anything like that. My dad will sneak inside your head when you're least expecting it. He knows what you've done before you know it. He's a detective and one of the greatest ones there ever was. Like, it's just, you're not going to trick the man. Yeah. So he was just trying to make sure that I stayed on the right path. All of a sudden I was, all right, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. I'm gonna put you on the right path, son. You're going to have to make your own decisions. But I'm going to do what I can do to put you on the right path. Yeah. If you get off, I'm going to put you right back on it. But there was a lot of, you know, Danny Tanner Full House moments, you know, there where he would come in and he'd have a conversation and I would completely underestimate how much he knew about what was going on. But he'd come in there and work me, you know, and it's what I needed. He just knew what needed to be said when it needed to be said. Yeah.
I wanted to grab your perspective on it because, you know, look, as a parent, you're a parent, you have some daughters you
Absolutely.
talked about. You often will wonder if what you're saying is having an impact, if they're actually listening. How much of your example are they trying to follow? It's easy to question that as an adult. It doesn't matter who you are and what you've been through. And so when you are in pivotal moments like this that you've gone through recently and I think it's fair to be said that even as a parent, you want to feel like that you have things figured out a little better. When things are thrown at you like this,
right,
you question that too. And so trying to make the right choices or trying to give the right guidance can be tough for a parent, much less all the other stresses that are going on just in regular life. So then here it is, you fail 8th grade.
Right.
What does that do to you mentally? Or is that an alarm call? What is going on in Ryan's head?
At the time, I really number one, there's a little embarrassment there because there's no reason there is a reason, but as far as academically, there's zero reason I should have failed the 8th grade.
I got you. You knew that it wasn't something that you couldn't have controlled. You could have controlled it.
It wasn't academic whatsoever. I could have controlled it, but and I still hadn't understood at the time why that I just gave up on everything. I'm still a child at the time. I have, my history teacher who ironically lives in my neighborhood now, Miss Tapp. I hope she's not going to get mad at me for saying her name, but she's just one. I love her dearly. She would call me during the summer between the failure year and the new start just to check on me. Say, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Yeah. I would start school, the next year, and honestly, the first day or so, it was a little awkward because I'm just like, I'm in the 8th grade here. I don't 13, 14, something like that. I failed a grade. I'm kind of embarrassed. These people know who I am. But really, some of my lifelong friends were in that grade. They weren't in the grade before then. They were in the grade that I was going into, which was wonderful for me. So it was a little embarrassing at first, but it didn't really last that long. I would go home from school. Miss Tapp would call my house, with the big rotary phone that you could hear across the house.
Oh, very familiar.
Oh, yeah. If it rang, you heard it 3 doors down.
That's right.
But she'd call. I'd be home for an hour. Like, what are you doing? I go, just watching TV, Miss Tapp. Have you done your homework? No, ma'am. I'll call you back in an hour.
I like it.
Yeah.
See, involvement. Look. Man, I have spoke to this. Golly, I've spoke to this. So being a public speaker as well, I have opportunities at times to speak at different school events. And recently I was able to do that with a community event with DeSoto County Schools.
Right.
And that was kind of the premise of my message, was that we should never feel like that we are not valued, even as a teacher. Here it is. She's stepping into a role where she probably understood a lot of your life, your background, what you've been through, and knew that you needed that mentorship. And so not going too far, but at least doing something to put you on a better path and let you know someone cares about what your actions are. Look, I cannot tell you this. I mean, there's like words that come to my mind, and right now I'm lost for words to express the value that people can have. It takes a community to raise a child, they say, or a village to raise a child. All of that's true, because I can tell you so many times whenever I've had an opportunity to speak to a kid at a school, maybe they've been hearing that same thing from their parents. Maybe they've been hearing that same thing from their teachers. And here's this other person coming in and they're saying something, but they're saying it a little different, but it's the same message and it clicks. And so that teacher taking that moment to just check in with you, make sure that you're doing your homework, kind of being a little bit of a filler between everyone else's other responsibilities and saying, look, I see Ryan's in a tough spot. He's already failed. I want to make sure he's getting back on the right path.
Right.
Did you recognize that at the time, how important that was?
I did. Okay. I did. And I felt it because it seemed like she was just like, this is a good kid that's just had some hard things to go on. And it was not only her, it was, I can't go through a conversation without mentioning David Manley, who was the principal at SBC. That dude is, as far as Mount Rushmore, as far as I'm concerned, about influential people.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be here without those guys.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's funny, too, because so often I look back and it's moments that a person spent or they invested in me. And honestly speaking, maybe I didn't have the value in mind of what was happening at that time. It took years. And then me reflecting on it, being like, man, that person actually kept me better founded. They gave me some better clarity about what I needed to do next with my life. And so clearly you've gotten some age behind you now, so it's easy to look back and see that without a problem.
They valued me more than I valued me at the time.
Absolutely. And we need that. We need that a lot of times. You need someone to see that in you. Look,
that's right.
I'm not even going to kid you. I sat behind this microphone not because of my own doings, but because of other people seeing that I had the ability to be able to relate to people and have a conversation that was important. I wouldn't be here without other people's investment investment and belief in me. And I think that a lot of what you're saying right now is also saying that same message, is that that's what puts you on that path. So then let's move forward a little bit. So then as you're getting through high school, you had said that you wanted to be a detective.
Right.
Obviously seeing your dad and the role he had played in your life. Tell me about a little bit about the high school years and your brother's fight with cancer. And then ultimately after you graduate, where do you go from there?
He battled cancer for, I mean, realistically, he's still battling it, but he battled cancer for about a year as a St. Jude patient. Mm-hmm. So I would go in there and see all that. And I absorbed a whole lot of stuff by the time I was young, but
it'll force you to grow up.
Yeah, it'll force you to grow up. And I think I resented that.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. And it kind of made me angry. Like I'm missing out on things that I shouldn't have been missing out on. But they got him covered. It's never come back since then. But I mean, you're going to take chemo and radiation when you're 16 years old. That's going to come back to you for years.
Sure.
But he's doing good right now. But yeah, I had a lot of resentment and a lot of anger, as far as that goes. And, I would have a quick temper sometimes. Like it was just like kind of known you don't want to lock up with the Dunn boys because they're a little crazy. No, we're not a little crazy. We're just stressed out. We don't know how to react to things. We're just expressing our anger and our stress and everything in the wrong way. And it was resentment because I felt like I had missed out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
God bless my stepmother for hanging with us as long as she did, because she saw it, she knew it. There was a lot of anger because it's just like things are changing too fast here, as a child. But I continued to go through my high school years, my junior high years. I played some sports, but a little basketball, a little baseball. I'll be honest with you, nobody ever really taught me how to play either one. I was just naturally
just had a little bit of an athletic gift.
Oh, I could play.
Yeah.
We go outside on a playground playing one-on-one. I can do that all day long, but I didn't really understand the game. Yeah. I didn't really have the teaching or anything like that, like my kids do, and I've made sure that they have that. And it goes back to the same thing. I didn't value myself as much as everybody else saw what they saw in me. I was crazy fast as far as running, like crazy fast. But I didn't think that at the time. I just thought that I wasn't good enough when everybody else was just like, we're just glad you didn't try out, So I devalued myself. And that's kind of a trend as far as how things go on. I graduate high school. I still love SBEC deeply. I can hear the band play on a Friday night, from my neighborhood. But I went to Shelby State, if I'm dating myself a little bit there.
I teach there now, but it's Southwest now.
But I went to Shelby State, kind of the satellite campus over there around Winchester and Mendenhall area. And I did that and got the basic stuff. And then I went to Memphis and got my bachelor's degree from there in marketing, which oddly enough now I use. I did not use it for a long time, but I got a job the day after we graduated. I started just in a little golf shop selling golf clubs. And it turned into a pretty good job, and I ended up doing it for 12 years, which was I love the game of golf, but I mean, I was just wasting my
12 years. It's funny because whenever you sent me the little bio and I read about it, I'm like, man, 12 years is not a small amount of time.
It's not.
You're closer to a quote retirement than you are starting over.
It's not.
So how did you just find yourself 12 years all of a sudden in this? I started, just hacking around playing golf and sneaking onto the back nine at Audubon. Yeah. When I was probably 16 years old or something like that, because we couldn't afford to play. So it's real easy to sneak onto the back nine at Audubon. But I love the game. I needed a job. Yeah. And my stepmom went in to try to find me a set of golf clubs, and he's just a wonderful guy over there, and he needed somebody to work, and I just ended up there. And then I learned a whole lot about business. I learned a lot about communicating with people because I would run the place most of the time. So I learned how to talk to folks.
So
Yeah.
it's just another tool in the tool shed as far as how to just communicate and how to read people and all that stuff. So really, I'm like, yeah, it's a long time, but really kind of prepared me for what was next. And at some point, like I'm at some point I grew up. And I
wouldn't say that it was wasted at anything,
No.
because whenever a person is taking responsibilities, and it doesn't matter what that line is. Look, I worked at the mall for 3 years when I was a kid, and selling clothes. And
Right.
what you're talking about, that ability to interact with an individual and then read body language and
Yes.
then understand if your conversation's going in the direction you want it to, as a salesman even. So all of those things played a role in who I was becoming.
Right.
So working at a golf shop for 12 years is not, working at a golf shop's not strange. My daughter actually works at the golf shop here in Hernando. So as soon, when you said that, I'm like, oh, well, there's another connection we have.
Right.
But I was just fascinated that you did that for 12 years. And I was curious as to what suddenly changed, or what deviated, or what was a light switch moment that made you say, I've been here for 12 years, but now I'm going to, this next step, whatever that was. So what was that moment about?
It was, I mean, it was almost a God thing. Like, it was
Okay.
eating me up from inside. And I have completely glossed over the fact that I accepted Christ on a Tuesday night in October in 1990, sitting in a pew in Cherry Road Baptist Church.
And how old were you?
13. I would have been 13, but I still had things to go through. You know, accepting Christ don't mean everything's all hunky dory after
No,
that.
just gives you somebody to go to when things are bad.
100%. It just now you got the answers. Now you got the.
That's it.
Now you got the cheat code.
That's
You
right.
know, you know who to go to when things go bad. But so I wasn't. I'm still not perfect, you know. But I did accept Christ when I was 13 years old, and it wasn't like somebody had been. They'd been trying to catch up with me, but I was very difficult to catch up with. On visitation nights, they would come by, and like, I'm just hard to hold down. It was just one of those things where on my own, I just felt it. And I'm like, I can't deny this any longer. So I did. So then let's fast forward to the end of the golf thing. And then I just felt it inside. It was almost just like God saying it's time. Like, you know what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're supposed to do. You just have to do it. So I call my father and I tell him that, Dad, I think I'm supposed to be a police officer.
How old were you at that time?
When I started applying, I was 29, turning 30, something like that. And it's a process. It takes a while. You
Sure.
have to go through background checks and all that stuff. So I started maybe a week after I turned 31 or something like that. I mean, I'm 48 now. I still look like I'm 12 years old just about. So you can imagine what I looked like when I was that age. But,
Yeah.
But I called my dad and I tell him, Dad, I think I'm supposed to be a police officer. And all he said was, I know.
Oh,
He said, I know.
wow.
He's like, but I can't get you there, son. You got to make that decision.
Yeah. Oh, it has to. It doesn't matter what it is in life you do. If you
Yeah.
don't sell out and buy in,
That's right.
no one can force it for you. I tell my students all the time, I teach EMS. I tell my students all the time, I cannot want this more for you than you want it for yourself. I can give you all the tools you need to be successful.
Right.
But if you don't pick the tools up, you're still going to fail.
Right.
That's the way it works. So your dad's absolutely right. And the intuition that he knew you were
He
going to
knew
be
it.
a cop, that is truly incredible,
Yes.
but also not surprising
No,
at the same time.
Not one bit. He knew it 100%. Like, he didn't even hesitate. He goes, I know.
Yeah.
He's like, but I can't make that decision for you, son. He goes, it's not something to step into lightly.
Yeah.
He goes, you're going to have to decide that on your own.
So let me do a recap. You know,
Okay.
I could have never done this in school. If I could have, I would have probably made better grades. But so the recap here is you have a young Ryan that probably up until about the age of 8 has a regular, normal, getting beat up by the brothers kind of lifestyle. You know, you're watching family wrestling, and on Saturday mornings, you're probably practicing moves on your brothers, or they're more likely practicing them on you. And then all of a sudden, life changes with mom's illness, and then you go down this other road of darkness that you've never. Kids are not. I'm just my opinion. Kids are not supposed to have to suffer like that, and we know it happens all the time, all around the world. So it's not like it's a unique thing. It's just a sad thing when it happens. And so here it is. You have to find a way to compensate and deal with this, but immediately God replaces that with another lady in your life that's able to help bring some glue back to the family and bring some structure back to the family. And now here you guys are growing up, getting in a little bit of mischief. You have a step off with school, but in some ways probably the right moment, because I do believe that things that even happen like that have a higher purpose, because that would put you at a different place in life that you wouldn't have been there ready for that next thing had you moved forward at that time. I can speak directly to that because I had 2 senior years. That's a story for another day. So here you are now. You grow up and you're in your teenage years, but you accepted Christ at the age of 12 into 13, and this is going to play a role because now you have a different foundation, and I think that's where we play from. We have our foundations. Whatever that thing is that we use as our foundation will help us build a stronger tomorrow. And if you don't have the right foundation, it'll crumble at the smallest things. That is so fact. I cannot even express that enough, and I could tell you 1,000 examples. So here you have a foundation, and as you move forward, you get out of high school, you're working at the golf club, and you're getting experience in different areas that you don't even recognize that you're probably going to need later in life. And that's 12 years, and now you make the decision, I want to be a police officer. So, my friend, catching you all the way up to this point, are you married? Do you have kids at this time when you're going into the police force?
I do. Let me go back for 1 second.
Sure.
And that there was kind of a turning point. Getting out of high school into college and all of that, where I kind of put the anger down, because I had to. It was consuming me, and I made the decision to, it's not a thing to be angry that your mother's gone. It's time to honor her memory.
Yes,
and to be respectful of what she wanted me to be. You know? And that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
So we fast forward now. Right before I started law enforcement, I did get married. Met my wife at White Station Baptist Church. Second I saw her, I knew it. I keep joking with everybody that she hit on me like relentlessly. That was not the case. But we are married now. We have been together for a very long time. I think we met in 2005, so we've been together for about 20 years now. We've been married for 18 and a half, be 19 this year. But we have 2 kids, 2 girls that are 12 and 15. I have brothers. I grew up with brothers. I did not know what to do with girls. I thought that I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought that I was going to have cheerleaders. I just thought that's what I had no idea that they were going to turn into what they've turned into.
Yeah.
Which is something far beyond what I ever imagined. I mean, they're just amazing.
Yeah.
And I haven't missed anything since then, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
At a certain point, but that's where we're at now. But when I start law enforcement, I'm married for about a year, and then I entered this career that really she didn't sign up for, but she knew that I wanted to do it. So that's where we're at.
That was going to be my question: is how did that go over with your wife? Because I was married whenever I got on the fire department,
right?
And she knew. I mean, it's like, it's dangerous. It's one of those jobs that people say stuff like this. Look, genuinely speaking, you can go drive on 240 and not be here tomorrow. That's the way life can be, no doubt. But there are certain jobs that you put yourself in a line of danger on a regular basis. And being a firefighter is one of those. Well, being a police officer is one of those. So you're married, so she has to sign off on this, right? So talk a little bit about that, because this is a family decision. This ain't just a Ryan decision.
It is. I mean, she at this point, my dad, she loves my dad. She understood, what he did for a living and all that. And I think she just, her dad was a great guy. He's passed since then, but he was military police. I think she just understood. I think she got it too, that this is what he's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And as far as God put her there at the time, my wife is not the one to be trifled with. She is not for the faint of heart. Like she's not soft. I'll just say that. So he gave me a life partner to stand next to me, not to stand behind me, to stand next to me. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go to battle with my wife. She'll chew you up and spit you out real quick. And that was the perfect partner for me to have through life and for what I was about to do. So she supported it. She was excited about it and all that. It's it's law enforcement job. Like it's caused its problem over the years, not by my intention or hers or anybody else, but that's what it does.
Yeah. All of those jobs take a toll. Military members, I mean, when you're a public servant, let's just face it, there's a sacrifice. And, you know, even through our best efforts, there's still going to be a piece of you that is going to take.
Massive understatement.
From everything from PTSD, dealing with that, to just the time spent away from family. And then there is a metamorphosis that you will go through. And people talk about seasons. I like to think of myself as having been pretty well balanced, but it took time and reflection for me to recognize I had become someone different at times. And it was an angry thing at times. I had a short fuse at times, or I was just completely distant and wasn't hearing someone else's concerns or conversation because I was swallowed up in my own thoughts. All of those things, I think, affect anyone in first responder world. And it takes a special person that's walking alongside them to be able to understand that, and then to also recognize that. And so that's why I wanted to ask a little bit about your wife. And I think it probably, I could be completely wrong, so I don't know your wife, but I would think it may have helped, though, that she knew your dad and she understood law enforcement to a point.
Yes.
You know, if you're blindsided by this and you go into a relationship with someone that has one of those types of jobs and they have no knowledge or understanding, it can be very tough. My wife was a nurse, so it did help. She understood stuff better than an average person that hadn't seen that kind of stuff front and center, so to speak. So then you get on the Collierville Police Department.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the process there, because I know that you had a pretty lengthy career, but then you had some accolades. There was a lot of things going on that was molding your life. Where did you see that process going?
And the second that I had all of this self-doubt up until a certain point, to where I doubted myself. I doubted this and that, but all of a sudden there was an awakening, and it's almost like it built me up to a certain point to where I just did a complete 180. And the second I walked in there, I'm telling you, the day that I walked in there, and I started the same day, it is, one of our major K-9 guys who's a football coach now in Bolivar, Justin Weaver, who's best cop I've ever seen. He's just unbelievable. It's great to have him next to me through our career, but we walked in there together, and he's a second generation officer as well.
Oh.
The day I walked in there, I just felt like, yeah, this is it. This is right. Like this feels like home. And it's a great department. It's just like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like everything just almost clicked, like I've been trying to hit a square peg into a round hole, but now I've got a round peg into a round hole, and it just made sense to me. Yeah. The day that I started doing that. So, we start that, we go to the academy, go through that, did well, finished second in the police academy and all that. And it was like everything made sense to me now. And it's all the stuff that had been building up to that point. Then I just decided to become who I was supposed to become. The
pieces of the puzzle come together.
The pieces of the puzzle came together.
The picture starts to become clear.
Oh yes. Like big time. So then we start doing it. And me and we're young police officers, very proactive, probably a little too much on the radio, for some of the older folks, and drove them a little crazy until eventually.
You were ambitious.
Eventually we earned respect from them, and they're like, no, these two cats right here are different.
Yeah.
They're different. So they put us in a car together. And when I tell you, it was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable. Like, no two people ever belonged in a police car together more than myself and Justin Weaver.
Yeah. I believe that about podcasting with me and Derek. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Nobody belongs at a table better than me and Derek.
Lightning in a bottle.
Lightning in a bottle, baby. I feel that. I know what you're saying.
That's right. And
when it clicks, it clicks.
And it just like we would argue every day. Like I'm glad they don't play back the in-car cameras. We would just yell at each other.
So y'all were good entertainment.
But once the lights went on, man, it was all business. And we were good at what we did. And I just over the years through my entire career, I like 9 times officer of the month. I did everything the right way, and I did everything to try to hit every goal that I planned on doing. I was trying to be the best at whatever it is that I was trying to be.
Sure.
And that was the goal, to do that. You know, I spent a good time in patrol, and that's honestly 3 to 11 patrol. When you're a young officer, that's where you're going to learn how to be a cop.
That's probably the busiest hours.
That's the busiest
I would
time.
imagine. Sure.
If you want to learn the job, you need to be evening shift patrol.
Yeah.
And that was it. And we had a great time, but we experienced a lot of stressful things. And then I eventually went into narcotics, did that for a little bit. At that point, I had 2 children, 2 small daughters. And then I went back to patrol and became an FTO. Honestly, that might have been the happiest that I was. I loved teaching. I can't even begin to speculate how many people that I've taught.
It is a unique feeling to be able to give back what you've learned.
Well, it keeps you sharp.
It does keep you sharp, and I think it also gives you a sense of purpose at that point.
Yes.
For me, with being a firefighter paramedic, I love learning the job, and kind of like what you're saying, it was like a whole different game. Whenever I got into being a firefighter and being a paramedic, things clicked so easy for me. Things that were really hard for other people was coming quick to me because I loved it so much. I couldn't study it enough. And then the opportunity I got to be able to be an FTO on the ambulance in the field, same thing.
Yeah.
Being able to teach folks that the things that I had seen and that you're not going to get in a classroom.
Right.
And that's how I bring it to the classroom now at Southwest is I will not just teach them the material, but then I also will give them real world application and things that you're not going to see in a book. And that's what you get to do as an FTO. So in a lot of ways, you're getting to be that mentor and pour back into somebody.
Right.
And my question to you is, along the way, how much of this growth pattern in the force are you getting from your dad? How much are y'all interacting as you're going through this? Because I was curious about how you're seeing yourself grow, you're seeing yourself get these different awards, and now you're getting to give back by being an FTO. How much is your dad playing a role as you grow?
He's eating it up, you know. Like he loved it, just like I knew what you were capable of.
Yeah,
he was thrilled to death, but that doesn't mean that he. And I'll get to that. That doesn't mean that he wasn't stressed, knowing that because as you get accolades and this and that, or if you're getting awards or if you're getting write-ups, both of those mean that you're heavily involved in whatever is going on. That means you're in the line of fire. That means you're actually doing things, and you're out on the street, and you're more susceptible to danger.
Yeah.
One of the two. And I think it worried. He loved it, and it worried him at the same time. There would be times. I remember a specific time where I'm sitting there with him, and he asked me, "Son, how's it going?" I was like, "Things are going good, Dad." And he said, "Like, are you?" He asked me, and this is great. He said, "Are you settling in?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You comfortable?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "That should make you very uncomfortable."
That's a good point.
He said, "You should never be comfortable in what you're doing." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I never forgot that.
Yeah.
You know, and he was coming from a position of love. He just wanted me to survive. He wanted me to make it through. That's my dad's goal. He just wanted me to finish without, He just wanted me to finish alive.
Complacency is a poison, for sure.
Well, no doubt.
You know, it doesn't matter what it is you're doing. I just recently watched a Netflix thing with a guy that was climbing a skyscraper.
Yeah, my wife watched that.
Let me tell you something. If you got complacent or way too comfortable, it only takes one misstep. Lights out. That's it. And I think that plays as far as like what we're doing, like as a firefighter, paramedic, as a police officer. You find yourself getting too comfortable, then all of a sudden you're complacent, and complacency can lead to big complications, obviously. So then you're going through the years, and how many years are you on Collierville?
Total 15.
Total 15 years. I'm going to lead to the next part because I know this is a big part of your story and where you are today.
Right.
So there was a moment that you are arrested with a DUI.
Yes.
And that changed everything in your life as far as where you were and where you were going next.
Right.
So talk about the day leading up to that moment and then what that was like and then what came after that, because that is definitely a life-changing situation.
Well, 2021, I got promoted to detective.
Okay.
Dream come true, right?
Yeah.
Good Lord, let me get there, and all that. So then, I'm working cases and all that. Well, then, as time goes on, the the stressors start to get to you. They start to mount from every possible direction. I mean, I told Derek when we were sitting talking, I was like, there's one instance, just a brief snippet of what the life is like as a law enforcement officer. I said, there's a gentleman on a Sunday afternoon who had gotten news about he got fatal cancer. That he was going to pass away of cancer. He calls us up, tells us the front door is unlocked. I'm going to end it. Y'all can come to the front door. I'll be in the garage. So we get there, and we're like, yeah, we're not going through the front door. Like that's it could be a trap.
Sure.
See his garage door opener. Another officer used a Slim Jim, opened it from in his car. Slim Jimmed into his car and hit the garage door opener. He's laying there, and then we watch him take his last breath. 20 minutes later, I'm on the square eating a corn dog and drinking a lemonade with my family, having to be dad. You can't explain that.
It's hard to process your head.
You understand it, but you can't explain that to somebody.
It's hard to explain what that feeling and emotion
that doesn't get that. So we're talking about 15 years of this. You know, just over and over and over, and that's part of what you sign up for. But to bring back, you know, what we talked about earlier, 2023, early 2023, my brother, he, you know, with that had cancer, it's just affected him his whole life. He started to have heart problems, and like sufficient heart problems to the point to where they thought they were going to have to put him on a transplant list. So they put him in the shock vest, you know, which is going to shock him while they're waiting to see if they can get this thing stabilized. So he can't drive, right? You can't be driving in that thing. It's just like getting tased.
Yeah.
So he can't drive. So he can't, at the time, he can't take my parents to appointments or anything like that. And they're getting older. He does it now. He's wonderful at it. But then my dad gets diagnosed with chronic leukemia. That's the one that you can live with, but that's tough.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do it. He's like, I'm not doing, and I tried to talk him into it, but he's not doing chemo and radiation or anything. He's like, I'm mid-80s like that. I'm not finishing my life doing this, you know?
Yeah.
And I totally understand it. He wanted a big, giant recliner. He wanted a big TV, and he wanted to watch Gunsmoke. That's all he wants to do.
I can relate to Gunsmoke.
God bless him.
I've been watching a lot of Gunsmoke
and
myself.
Atlanta Braves baseball. I'm not sure why, because the rest of us are Cubs fans, but he wants to watch Braves
That's
baseball.
interesting.
Yes. So that's all he wants. But I'm processing all this, and I'm not doing well with it. Like at the time, I'm coming home, and to that point, I call myself I was a good father, a great father to everybody on the outside. But it's just once you get home, work got the best of you, and your family got what was left of you. That's a dangerous, dangerous area to be in. Sure, you know. So I get home and just like I had nothing to talk about. I've been solving everybody else's problems all day long. I was burnt out. And then the family stuff that came in with it, I was burnt out.
You know, you can only put so many drops in a cup before it starts to overflow.
100%. I did 12 years on the street before I was promoted. That's a lot of being the first person to walk in there and see things. Yeah. You know, so the cup was overflowing at the time. It was on a Saturday, ironically, the day before Father's Day. And my wife and kids were going out of town to watch a concert and, you know, just hang out at the pool, and a friend wanted to meet, grab a beer. I did. I had one too many. DeSoto County stopped me. And then that went the way that went. And, you know, no hard feelings there whatsoever. It was what it was. And then, you know, the next week was just a blur. Like it was just like a straight rocket ship to the ground.
Can you compare that moment to the other difficult moments you'd had at this point? Because we've laid it out pretty strong about all the different family moments that you had that were obviously gut punches along the way. Right. How could you compare that moment in your life with the career you had built, the person you were, the person you are. Because I want to say this before you go into explaining that, because here's the thing that I hope everybody out there relates to. It is so easy for folks to sit and Monday morning quarterback something and to be judgmental in a situation. But if they are really honest with themselves, I would doubt that there's a single person out there of the thousands and thousands of folks that will see this across the world. I would seriously doubt there's a single one of those people that have not made mistakes. And maybe they were just fortunate enough to not get caught up in their mistake.
Not one.
There is an absolute humility that comes with the ability to acknowledge a bad decision in life that you regret, that you would wish that didn't happen. But then also I think that there is clarity in understanding how you got there. And I think that comes hand in hand with mistakes in general in life. It doesn't matter who you are and where you come from. A lot of mistakes are made, and it makes a lot of sense later when you reflect, but in the moment you don't think about it that way. So clearly it makes perfect sense how Ryan Dunn is just doing what everybody else out there at some point, I say everybody else, people will send me emails. They'll be like, I ain't never done this. Okay, maybe you're one of the exceptions. People make these mistakes. You do this thing, and man, it's like I have invested all the stuff, and this one moment now is left to define me. So what is that feeling like in your mind? What's going through your mind of, this is just a stupid mistake?
I'll be honest with you. The difference between that and the previous things, I could have controlled this.
Okay.
I had no control. I can't control my mother passing away of cancer. I can't control your
brother getting cancer.
My brother
your dad
getting cancer.
Yeah.
And my dad and all that stuff. And I could have controlled the failing the eighth grade, but how much control do I got as a 12-year-old kid or 13-year-old kid?
Yeah, there should be no blame on that.
This I had control over, so this was something that it was more of an awakening there that kind of hit home. Like, buddy, there's no blaming this on anybody else. This is for you. This was specifically designed for you.
Did you feel that way immediately?
Kind of.
Okay.
Kind of. I was still resentful for just some specific things, but I was just, and what that was is because all of a sudden it went to the media. Mm-hmm. It was leaked to the media. And I'm aware of that. But it was leaked to the media, and it was nothing extraordinary.
Yeah,
I didn't raise my voice or anything like that, but I was still wrong. Let's just be honest with it. But the only reason that it was leaked to the media is because I decided to give my life to law enforcement and to take everybody else's problems as my own for a long time. So that's my penance. That's what I have to. That's the price I had to pay, and because of that, it was just a public embarrassment. I never read one single comment, but my wife read every single one of them. Mm-hmm. It just broke my heart, that she had to go through that with me, and God bless her for doing it.
I think that goes hand in hand with how we started the conversation about who your mom is, or your mom. I mean, your wife is.
Yeah.
She's a bulldog.
She's a bulldog.
You need that.
Yes.
Sometimes. And life is going to throw some stuff at you.
Yes.
And regardless if you set yourself up for the situation, the bottom line is you're going to have the grit and the toughness to make it through that moment, and then not just make it through that moment, but then use that moment to be a better person yourself and then help others with it. And I know that's where you're going with this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no question about it. So that happens. It's clear to me that it's over. It's time to go.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it hadn't have gone to the media or anything like that, if it hadn't been such a dramatic fall,
mm-hmm.
I was loyal to a fault. I would have never left.
You'd have went right back, same job.
I would have right back, same job. Took my medicine and then just moved on, because I thought that was all I was ever capable of and all I was ever supposed to be doing, or something like that. So I would have never left. It almost had to happen. Like it's one of those things that what you think at the time is the worst thing that happened to you turns out to be one of the best things that ever happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now the tough part was going to tell the old man. And
how do you take it? Yeah, we ain't going to talk about it if you don't want to. That's personal. That's very personal. I get that. That's family, and I don't want you to feel like you have to say anything.
No, he and I might tear up a second, but
that's okay. Trust me, I cry on here all the time, buddy.
He put his arm around me. He just said, we don't do this no more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough thing, man. You know, and what I'm sensing from you is not, I think more than anything, it's the regret of feeling like you let him down.
That's it.
That's it. You know, the disappointment that he had is what the pain come from. You know, you releasing the responsibility and ability to continue your career is a problem. It's a pain, but the hurt comes from letting others down. The hurt comes from your wife having to read the nasty comments that come along.
Right.
The hurt comes from the people in your circle. I completely relate to that, sir. You know, as a public figure at doing what I do now, do you think I'm without scrutiny? People send nasty stuff all the time because everybody has an opinion. They all think theirs is right, and I get it. So you can throw stones at me,
right,
and it does not hurt me. It deflects off. I may not always like it, but I don't dwell on it. But if I did something that hurt my family, or I felt like I let people down in my circle that I care about most, that is what hurts me. That's what hurts me. I never want to let those down that count on me.
Right.
And I know that's what you must have been feeling at that moment.
Well, he told me, he's like, this is we don't do this no more. He goes, the Dunns are out of the law enforcement business. He said, we owe nothing to no one more else.
Yeah.
He goes, we did our job. He's like, you did it well. He goes, and he told me, and this was huge, you know, to have this affirmation, because I underestimated him, just like I always do. He just said, son, just because God wanted you to do that doesn't necessarily mean that he wanted you to do it forever.
That's true.
I was just like, man, that hit hard.
That's clarity.
Yeah.
And the fact he's showing grace to you in a moment where I know you felt vulnerable.
Yes.
And, you know, let that be a lesson to everybody out there. When a person is going through a tough spot in their life, I don't think they always need to be reminded of why they're in the tough spot. A little grace goes a long way. I mean, I can tell you so many mistakes I made over the years, and reflecting on how my family or my friends forgave me for the moment, whatever that might have been. And there are tons of examples that people go through over the course of a lifetime. You know, I'm 52 years old. Certainly, I've made a ton of mistakes over the years.
Right.
Boy, I sure would hate to think that I would be judged the rest of my life and my character be judged the rest of my life off of a few bad choices in one moment of life.
Right.
Nobody deserves that. Right. And that's a big part of what this platform is that I do, is just that redemption story and that ability to pick yourself up and to reflect back and say how that moment was one of the darkest hours that I could have ever dreamed of. If I would have thought up, you know, what is something that would hurt me the most, and you think up that moment and to think that there's no tomorrow. Boy, how many times have people probably given up when they shouldn't have? Maybe they were just given a gift they didn't understand they were given.
Yep.
And they didn't use it the way it needed to be used. I'm just going to correlate this, and I'm coming back to you with it. But as we've discussed a little bit, I love firefighting and being a paramedic. I loved it, man. It was the core. It was a part of my identity. And I wasn't one of those folks that felt like I needed something to validate who I was, but it was what I became. And I felt really good about being able to do my job very efficiently. And my end of my story came a little differently. I had injuries, and multiple injuries to my shoulders. I had 3 surgeries, and it put me in a position I could no longer be a firefighter. And in Memphis, they don't allow you to just be a paramedic. They didn't back then allow you to just be a paramedic. You had to be a firefighter as well. So they forced me to retire. And I want to tell you, different circumstances, 100%, didn't go through public scrutiny, not trying to compare those two things. But what I am telling you is I felt like that thing that I was supposed to do, the thing that God had given me, was now taken away. And I could have felt like a victim of that. Like I didn't do anything wrong. And look at my shoulders now. And what am I supposed to do with this? But instead of that, I felt like there has to be something for me. And so honestly, Ryan, I prayed about it. And I said, look, when the door opens, make sure I understand that that's the door for me. And I kid you not, 24 hours later, I got an email asking me if I'd ever considered teaching at come up to Southwest and teach in the EMS program. I'm like, that 24 hours. You tell me that's a coincidence?
Nope.
That is not a coincidence, my friend. That opened up the door to the next thing I'm doing, that brought me into being Coach Camp, that brought me to a platform that I'm able to do podcasting and be able to connect with people and share their stories all across the world, that has had such an impact on thousands of people that have sent me messages and say, your guest this week that said this thing helped me through a time that I was not even realizing I was going through a tough time and didn't understand how to move forward. And that person's story helped me. Sir, that's what your story's going to do. I wouldn't be here if my shoulders hadn't gave out, if I hadn't trusted God had a different plan, if I hadn't realized that there was a bigger purpose than just me. Sir, that's what you've done. You had a tough spot. You had a dark moment, but you realized there was a better future still ahead of you, and you were going to use that to be able to not just be a person that was going to be better, but then to enrich other people's lives. So tell me about those next steps for Ryan as you move through that cloud.
You said 24 hours. I'll see your 24. I'll take you to 4 minutes.
Lord have mercy. All right. I can't do that one.
I'm getting ready to pull off of this parking lot of this is a great police department of that I had given I had blood, sweat, and tears for a long time there and trained up most of those people. I'm getting ready to, and I can't even hardly get off the lot because I'm shaking because I'm like, this is all the emotion of everything you've seen. It's like you're like it's time to go, and it's the realization of that. And I called a buddy, Major, who's with My Town Roofing. He was with me for 13 years at Carterville. I mean, he can barely fit through this door, but he's just one of my short list of most trustable people on this planet. And I just need somebody to sit with me for a minute.
Yeah,
he walks right up to me and offers me a job. I'll never forget what he said. And he just walked up. He goes, what do you need from me? He goes, just tell me. He goes, you want a job? And I just stopped and I looked at him. I'm like, what? Hey, this is 4 minutes. Yeah. 4 minutes from me pulling off that parking lot. And I said, doing what? And he said, he told me, he's like, you be a project manager for a roofing company? I said, I know nothing about that. He's like, you can figure it out?
Yeah.
I said, why? I said, are you authorized to give me a job? He goes, yeah, I can hire you. I said, why are you doing this? I don't know what I'm talking about there. He said, you're the greatest cop I've ever seen. And that hit me.
Yeah.
He said, if you can figure that out, you can figure this out.
Yeah.
So it was easier to call my wife and to tell her that, hey, we got to be done with that. It's time to walk away from that, but I have another job offer. And the job offer is actually going to free me up and give me more time with my family. Since then, we were actually scheduled because it was for her birthday. I'm not going to tell you which one because I'm not stupid.
Yeah, you got to be smart about these things.
No question. We're scheduled to go to Mexico like the day after that, or like 2 days after that, just with some friends for her birthday. It couldn't have been a better time to get out of the country,
Yeah. When
you're on the news, it was beautiful. So we did. It was kind of like a restart, and then just like they're hiring me the day that I get back, and it was for My Town Roofing. And honestly, they gave me a contract, one of the owners, without ever even meeting me, just based off of this guy and another guy, Brian Quinn's recommendation, who he worked with me for a little while too, just based off of their recommendation. I'm like, well, if you trust these guys, you're the kind of people that I want to come work for. If you're willing to just trust them to hire me at a salary more than I was making before, which is wild.
That's crazy.
Within 4 minutes, I was like, then that's what I want to be a part of. And honest, I haven't questioned it since. It's a faith-based company. It's honest. We're not the folks that are going to get up there and do some shady. If you're looking for somebody to jack up your roof on purpose to get an insurance claim, you need to call somebody else. That's not us. But as far as service, you'll get nothing better. And the discipline, because we're just like yourself. We're not late to appointments.
That's right.
And stuff like that. So I just honestly, I've never been happier. I haven't missed anything with my kids' lives. They've both said, Dad, you're more present now. As far as tensions at home, now I can pay attention. I'm not perfect. I'm still an idiot.
Sure.
I still make stupid mistakes.
I mean, we're human.
Yeah, we're human, but and I can't hear like I used to hear, but it's just way better than it was before. It's like God delivered me from something that I was good at, but it was really just driving me crazy, into a space where my kids are starting to be teenagers and very active in sports that they're good at, and I get to be successful in sales or something else. I get to be a present father At times, the one thing you don't get back.
You never get it back. It's the most valuable thing on earth.
It's the most valuable thing on earth. You know, we've had to wake them up at 4 a.m. before to see Santa Claus.
Yeah,
because Dad
got to go to work for the rest of the day.
Dad's got to go to work.
Yeah,
you know, I've missed Thanksgiving, I've missed birthdays and this and that.
Sure,
but since then I've missed nothing.
Yeah,
and my company's very big about that. Like family's a huge thing as far as what we do. So, and it took me a while because I was just so.
It's hard to let go of a part of you.
It's a lot of embarrassment because it's. I mean, I still have people call me there with questions sometimes. I mean, I was pretty good at that job, you know, but that's not my identity anymore. It was hard to accept it about all the different things that went on. But as time went on, I'm just like, it had to play out the way that it played out for me to get to the next point in life. Because if I had have just given up I would have sold myself short and robbed myself and my family and everybody else of the comeback. The comeback, that's the payoff. That's the huge part. That's the part that God wants you to go out there and to show everybody else is the comeback. That's what He did it for. That's why He broke you, to make you over again. That's what we did in the police academy. That's what you do to young officers. You know, you got to break them a little bit.
Well, I think the bottom line is that you have to understand you have faith in the process. You know, and nothing happens over a day or a week or a month or a year. It takes time, and for the full clarity of a situation to come to fruition, it takes the faith that the thing is that you're following has a purpose behind it. Look, full disclosure on my teaching thing, I went there with a 1-year plan, and then I was going to take control of what I was going to do and do the thing next.
Right.
I've now been there 10 years. You tell me who had a plan.
Right.
The faith is, I know if I'm in the right place, then it's the right thing to do. And I have never questioned that. I'm still there to this day. I have no thoughts about how I'm going to leave or when I'm going to leave or why I'm going to leave. I plan on being there because I know that's where God has me. And I know that that's the thing that took place with you whenever these things took place. You know, you never would have asked yourself to go through all this difficult time, but recognizing that tomorrow can be a better moment for you and have more clarity. Just trust the process. And I think a lot of people out there go through those dark hours and it's easy for them to give up. And just like you were talking about the guy that committed suicide, you know, and there's a lot of that goes on. And it doesn't have to be a terminal illness that causes a person to get to that. Obviously, I've covered suicide on this platform, and it's people getting to a dark, deep depression and they don't see a path forward and they're ready to give up on life, and they shouldn't because the gift is right around the corner so often. So, sir, here it is. Last thing before we wrap up. So you've now been working with this company for how long?
July 5th this year, it'll be 3 years.
3 years. And just before you come on the show, I happened to come across an article that you sent me that was about you guys. You were on Channel 5, I believe it was.
I think that was, you saw that one. It was on actually all of them. 5,
it was on all of them. Okay.
3, 5, 13.
So 5 was the one I think I watched, and they were covering a thing that you guys did. So just a little plug for the company and for the people out there to understand that it is a bigger purpose than just putting roofs on a house. You are taking care of people. Tell a little bit about that story, if you don't mind.
No question about it. Guy named Ronald Taylor. He's a retired Memphis police officer. I had not met him up to this point. He's mid-70s, I believe. I don't know the exact age, but he's mid-70s. You know, spent over 30 years with the Memphis Police Department. We were contacted by the Memphis Police Association, who does a tremendous job of taking care of their own. And somebody had reached out to them that he was in a bad situation and he had a hole in his roof and there was some sort of mix up with insurance and this and that. He didn't have enough money to pay for it. So they call us because they know that you know there's several of us there at My Town Roofing that are former law enforcement, and one of them there actually went to the academy with Major. Major's his first name, not his rank, but you know he's the sales manager there. He's my boss. But so they called him, and he sends me over there because you know I've got ties to MPD and all that with my father. I go over there and I meet Ronald. I start walking around, and when I tell you there was a hole in the size of his roof that you could fit like a coffin or something like that, like you could see the sky from this man's bedroom, right over there off South Parkway somewhere. But he it was bad. Like he had put a tarp up on the inside, just kind of nailed it up. That's not gonna hold up. There's damage in another room and all that. It's just a mess. So we ended up tarping the top of it. So basically, you got tarps, 2 different tarps and all that stuff. So went through some things. They did some fundraising just for a little of that, just enough to cover labor, and that's it pretty much, and just some other things that need to be done around. But the Memphis Police Association was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
In that, and then we got out there and we did the job for, we're not concerned about profit at that point. It's just doing the right thing for somebody.
Sure.
I can't imagine how that would have been in these current weather conditions.
Yeah.
Going on now.
Right after that, we have all this ice and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen photos, people sending me of like a metal barns and stuff collapsing in this. A tarp?
Yeah. Oh, it's
absolutely
going to be in his room.
That's Dunzo. Yeah, absolutely not. It would have been a super bad situation.
Yeah.
Good Lord gave us a good day on the Thursday before all this hit. One good day, and that's all it took.
Wow.
But we got that done for him. One of the news organizations has. It was just something that, the thin blue line takes care of each other. And I was just like, what? I mean, yes and no. I was like, it's more of a humanity thing.
Sure.
We do something like this at least once a year for someone. This is the first opportunity that we've had to do it for another law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
And then when I get there and I see this and I start talking to this man, he knows who my father is. And I told him who my uncle was, and he worked directly for him. He was just like, man, he's like, that's pretty wild that you're standing right here. It became a little personal. I was like,
sure.
I can't allow this man to live like this. This is ain't right.
Yeah.
It's not about money all the time. It's about doing the right thing for people.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of some of our core values there. And that's, I mean, let's be honest. I could go somewhere else and get a job. I could. I don't want to, and I'm not going to, because I trust the people that I work with, and I value the company that I work for.
Sure.
That they have a similar value set that I do.
Yeah.
It's more about, I mean, yeah, you got to make some money to pay the bills and stuff like that.
Everything can't be free.
No, everything can't be free, but kindness is reciprocal. It just is.
Yeah.
And the good Lord will take care of you. When he wants you to have it, he'll give it to you.
I'm glad that the news did that story too, because let's face it, you watch the news, it doesn't matter. Actually, you can do social media, you can do the news, world news, doesn't matter. So much negativity, so much hate out there. Man, we need more positive stories.
Sure.
And the only way that happens, of course, is people take action, and then we need people to report on that action, because it feels like sometimes we're in a vacuum. I can tell you right now, for me personally, that was one of the best things that this platform has given me, was a little bit of notoriety to be able to go and have more opportunities to speak at high schools. And I speak at high schools to anywhere from 9th to 10th grade. Usually, sometimes I'll get some juniors and seniors in there, but the truth is, I go and I will do it for free every time, because I understand the value of a positive message and maybe a little bit of wisdom of things I've experienced, and be able to give that to them, because I know my kids don't listen to me, but my kids listen to other people.
Right.
So I like to think that maybe my message is actually hitting on a lot of those guys. Well, Ryan, I love your story. Look, and it's not always the most beautiful circumstances that people go through, but I love your story and the fact that you never gave up on life and you understood the value of life. And now you are in a position where you wouldn't recognize right now the place you're in and be able to appreciate it the same if you hadn't had all those years prior to. If you just went straight into roofing, you would have a different perspective. Not to say you wouldn't appreciate your job,
right,
but it would just be a different mindset. And now you really are able to, I think, enjoy those moments with your family more, because you recognize what it was like to not be able to be there all the time,
right,
having to do your job and the stresses that it came with. And look, I think the bigger story for everyone else out there is just knowing that you can find yourself in a tough spot in life. The important thing is that you don't give up. Give yourself a good foundation of faith, and anything can be possible. And your story is important. So share that with others, because that's where they gain strength a lot of times, is recognizing someone else went through this. They made it. So can I. That's right.
That's right. No question about it. It just everybody's going to go through something at some point. Find you a support group, whether it's 1, 2 people, 10 people, whatever. Find you somebody, because somebody will listen to you, and stand back up. Don't rob yourself and everybody else of your comeback story, because that's not if that was your end, you wouldn't be breathing.
That's right.
God's got another plan for you. Don't rob yourself of that.
Finish writing the book. You got more chapters.
Finish writing the book.
Yeah.
That is the perfect analogy right there.
Yeah.
Finish writing the book.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming out on this chilly evening. I know
Yes,
you have
sir.
some sporting events to do with your
Yes,
daughters
sir.
from here.
Yes,
and so carving out a little bit of time to come down here and share your story with me is not lost on me how important that is. And I value your time because we just talked about it. Time is the most valuable thing that we have on this earth.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Ryan. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Look, I value your time coming into this every single week. You guys are checking in with the YouTube. You're checking in with Spotify. You're sending me some great messages. That keeps me inspired and motivated, and I cannot thank you enough. I'm going to ask you right now, do me a favor. Go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Subscribe to my YouTube. And until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mine.